I am Thomas, a 35-year-old marketing specialist working for a large multinational company. My wife Molly and I have been married for 8 years, and we live a quiet and happy life. At least, that's what I think. That night, I worked late as usual, and Molly was already asleep, but her computer was still on, the screen glowing in the darkness. Out of curiosity, I moved the mouse to close the computer. At that moment, an email popped up. My heart sank. It was an email from Molly to a man named Martin. In the email, Molly was full of anticipation for her upcoming trip to Hawaii, and she said a lot of sweet things to Martin, in a tone of intimacy that was unfamiliar to me. I closed the computer with a shaking hand. Molly, my beloved wife, the woman I thought I would spend my life with, had betrayed me. I felt anger, sadness, and an unspeakable fear. Our marriage, our future, fell apart in that moment. I didn't sleep a wink. The next day, I woke up as usual, ate breakfast, went out to work, greeted my colleagues with a smile, chaired a meeting, and evaluated the program. But deep inside, something changed forever. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let Molly and that Martin guy ruin our marriage. When I got home, I turned on my computer and started searching for Martin's information. I utilized all my resources and skills and quickly found his full name, workplace, social accounts, and other information. It turned out that he was a personal fitness trainer, and Molly met him at the gym. I stared at Martin's picture, and a million images flashed through my mind. They met at the gym, exchanged numbers, and started chatting. They went on a secret date and told each other how much they loved each other. They were planning to go to Hawaii together, and I, the stupid husband, was kept in the dark. My hands balled into fists. No, I won't let them. I'll expose the truth, no matter what it takes. I'm going to expose the truth, no matter what it takes, and Molly will pay for her betrayal. And Martin, the ungrateful little white boy, won't get away with it either. I shut down my computer and swore in the dark. I'll catch them and let the truth come out. It was a war without smoke, and I was ready for it. After discovering Molly's betrayal, I was in deep confusion and pain. But I knew I couldn't just let things go. I had to find the truth, even if it might hurt and destroy me. I decided to start a covert investigation into Molly and Martin, and as a marketing specialist, I had a keen eye and a wide range of contacts. I utilized these strengths and began to gather information in an organized manner. First, I went through Molly's schedule. She has an electronic calendar on her cell phone that records her work schedule and personal activities. I noted the hours of the gym and yoga studio she frequented, as well as the cafes and restaurants she occasionally visited. I hypothesized that these might be the places where she and Martin went on dates. Next, I set out to investigate Martin's background. Through legitimate sources, such as public social media accounts and job boards, I was able to obtain basic information about him. He was a freelance personal trainer with part-time jobs at several fitness organizations. Through his photos and posts, I could tell he was a narcissistic and womanizing man. I also used some of my contacts to find out about Molly and Martin's recent whereabouts. With the help of a friend in the travel agency, I found out that they had booked their flights and hotels to Hawaii. It seemed that the travel plans mentioned in the email were true. This is undoubtedly the hard evidence of their affair. Despite the information I have, I feel it's not enough. I needed more solid evidence to prove their infidelity. So, I started to wait around the places where they used to meet. I observed them from afar and recorded their every move. Several times, I saw them chatting happily in cafes and restaurants with happy smiles on their faces. At the gym, their physical contact became more and more frequent and full of ambiguity. Every time I saw these images, my heart bled. I hated Molly's betrayal, I hated Martin's unscrupulousness, but I hated myself even more for not being able to do anything about it. However, I couldn't just give up. I had to stay the course until the truth came out. Thus, I continued my secret investigation while trying to maintain a normal life. Outwardly, I knew nothing about Molly and Martin, but secretly I was collecting evidence and building a chain of evidence. It was a tough battle, and I was exhausted, but I knew that victory would go to those who stood up for what was right. After weeks of investigation, I had the evidence, the intimate photos of Molly and Martin, their hotel reservations in Hawaii, and the testimonies of their mutual friends, all of which became powerful weapons in my hands. I was finally able to produce this evidence and expose them for what they really were. But in the process, I also gradually realized that this evidence alone may not be enough to win in court. After all, although extramarital affairs are immoral, they are not illegal. If I want to prevail in the divorce lawsuit, I also need more powerful chips. I started to dig deeper into Martin's background. I looked at his education, his work history, his social circles, trying to find something suspicious. At first, everything seemed normal, but gradually, some details caught my attention. For example, some of his work history seems a bit vague and the timeline is not very coherent. Some of his friends' backgrounds also seem suspicious. Although there's no hard evidence yet, my intuition tells me that Martin is hiding something. I decided to dig deeper. I wanted to find Martin's secret, not only for my marriage, but also for my dignity. I'll use the truth to unmask his hypocrisy and make him suffer the punishment he deserves. As the investigation progressed, I gradually realized that a few photos and travel records were not enough to expose Molly and Martin's infidelity. I needed more evidence to prove how serious their affair had become. So I started to collect information more systematically. I used all legal channels, such as public records and social networks, to track their activities. I combed through their social media accounts and found some clues. For example, they often appear in the same place at the same time and post ambiguous photos and statuses. They would leave intimate comments under each other's updates or interact with each other using code words that only they understand. Although this evidence is not direct, it is indicative of the level of intimacy in their relationship. I also noticed that they were often seen together at social events. From health club membership records to charity dinner attendance lists, their names were always next to each other. These public records further confirmed that their relationship went beyond that of a trainer and student. But I knew that this was not enough to gain the upper hand in court. I needed some more direct and convincing evidence of their infidelity. So, I started to take some bolder measures. I've planted some bugs near their regular rendezvous. I hope to record their conversations and find some conclusive evidence. I know it's not right, but I swear I won't directly invade their privacy. I'll only record their conversations in public, not in any private space. A few days later, I obtained some recordings from the wiretap. My heart broke into a million pieces when I heard Molly and Martin talking intimately. They talked about future plans, about their love for each other, and about their guilt for me. Every word was like a sharp dagger in my heart. But at the same time, these recordings gave me hope. Their conversations constituted irrefutable evidence of infidelity. With this and the other information I had gathered, I was able to file a divorce suit against Molly. During this process, I also went through a great psychological struggle. As a husband, I should have given my wife the utmost trust and freedom. But now, I was secretly spying on her life and collecting her privacy. This feeling of betrayal made me feel immense pain and guilt. But I know that I had no choice in the matter. It was Molly who betrayed our marriage in the first place, and it was her infidelity that led to all this. I had to do it to save my honor, to save my life. The investigation continues. I knew that the real challenge lay ahead. I'd have to face a long legal battle, with Molly's recriminations and Martin's counterattacks. But I was ready. I was prepared to face any hardship as long as the truth came out, as long as it cleared my name. As my investigation progressed, I had enough evidence to prove Molly and Martin's infidelity. But just as I was about to draft the divorce papers, an unexpected discovery changed everything. While going through Martin's file, I gradually discovered some inconsistencies. Some details made me suspicious. For example, there seemed to be some inconsistencies in some of his work history. He claimed to have worked for a large company for a certain period of time, but there was no record of him in the company's personnel file. There's also something strange about him. For example, his social circle seems to be a bit complicated. Although most of them are peers in the fitness industry, there are also some characters with suspicious backgrounds. Some of them have criminal records, some are suspected of financial fraud, and some are involved with the triads. It made me wonder if Martin was involved in some illegal activities. My intuition told me that there must be some secrets here, so I decided to dig deeper. I mobilized all the resources and relations, began a more extensive and in-depth investigation. I reviewed a large number of public records, including court decisions, police warrants, news reports, etc. I visited places where Martin worked and lived in the past and interviewed a number of relevant people. I visited the places where Martin worked and lived in the past and interviewed a number of relevant people. I even used some special channels to obtain some inside information that is not known to the public. As the information accumulates, a shocking truth emerges. It turns out that Martin is not as simple as he seems. He has a very dark past, full of crime and violence. As far as I know, Martin used to be a professional criminal. He was involved in a number of serious criminal cases, including robbery, kidnapping, and drug trafficking. He was once arrested and imprisoned, but was eventually released for lack of evidence. But his criminal career did not end there. On the contrary, he became more cunning and careful, and began to commit more covert criminal activities. Most alarmingly, Martin is currently a wanted fugitive. He is suspected of being involved in a major financial scam involving tens of millions of dollars. The police have been pursuing him with all their might, but he remains at large, hiding under the guise of a fitness instructor. I was shocked and angered by this revelation. I didn't realize that Molly would be with such a person. A criminal, a liar, a scoundrel with no moral fiber. This is not only a betrayal to me, but a threat to the whole society. I realized that this is not just a marriage issue anymore. It was a matter of public safety, of legal justice. I couldn't stand by any longer. I had to take action, expose Martin for what he was, and bring him to justice. But I also knew that it was going to be a tough fight, and Martin wouldn't take it lying down, and he was going to fight back, maybe even go to some extreme measures. And Molly, too, could be implicated. I was deep in thought. How do I protect Molly if she's innocent and bring Martin to justice at the same time? How do I balance justice with saving my marriage? It was a tough call, but I knew I had to make it. On the screen, Martin's face seemed to be laughing at my ignorance and stupidity. I clenched my fists tightly, anger flaring up inside me. No, I won't let him get away with this. No matter what the cost, I will expose his disguise and let the truth come out. Not only for my own sake, but also for the sake of all the people he has deceived and hurt. After learning Martin's true identity, I was in deep conflict. On the one hand, I couldn't bear to see Molly being hurt and implicated. After all, she was once my favorite woman, the wife I swore to protect for the rest of my life. But on the other hand, I knew that if Martin was allowed to go free, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not only would he bring harm to more innocent people, but he would also be a blatant challenge to the law and to justice. After much deliberation, I finally made a decision. I decided to report Martin to the authorities and make his crimes known to the public, not only for the sake of justice, but also to protect Molly and anyone who might be victimized by him. I started to prepare the necessary materials. I carefully organized and classified all the evidence I had collected over the years, including photographs, recordings, and documents. I also wrote a detailed report letter listing Martin's crimes and my investigation process. I knew it would be a tough battle, and I had to be prepared. Before submitting my report, I contacted an old friend who works in law enforcement. He was a veteran narcotics agent who had been involved in many major crimes. I explained Martin's situation to him in detail and sought his advice and help. To my surprise, my friend showed great interest in Martin's case. He said they had been tracking a transnational drug cartel, and Martin was probably one of the key members. If we can arrest Martin, we can not only combat drug crimes, but also dismantle this huge criminal network. My friend assured me that he would fully support my report and would be personally involved in the case. He also told me that to be sure, they planned to arrest Martin and Molly on the day they left for Hawaii. In a public place like an airport, Martin would be less likely to put up a fight, and it would be easier to control the situation and avoid casualties. With the support of the law enforcement authorities, my confidence has been boosted. I formally filed a report with the relevant authorities and kept in touch with them to offer any assistance I could. At the same time, I was keeping a close eye on Molly and Martin's every move, ready to respond to any changes that might occur. Finally, the day of the arrest arrived. When Molly and Martin showed up at the airport, everything seemed normal. They were holding hands, talking and laughing, with happy smiles on their faces. What they didn't know was that there were police officers and agents with loaded guns in every corner of the airport. Just as they were about to go through the security checkpoint, everything changed suddenly. The police came out from all sides and surrounded them. Martin froze and seemed to try to escape, but was immediately overpowered, and Molly was completely frozen, a look of disbelief written on her face. I stood not far away, quietly watching all this. Inside, complex emotions of sadness, anger, and relief were intertwined. I knew that this moment was the end of my long nightmare, but it was also the beginning of another one. From now on, I would have to face a broken marriage, a trauma that could not be healed. But I don't regret my decision, because I know that it is the right thing to do, the thing to do. Justice cannot only exist in ideals and slogans. It requires the efforts and perseverance of each and every one of us, and we need to be able to stand up at critical moments and bravely fight against evil and injustice. Sirens blared through the night sky, and the police lights reddened my eyes. I took one last look at Molly and turned away. I knew that this was far from over. I would face many more challenges and trials in the days to come. But I was ready, because I know that no matter how difficult the road ahead is, as long as there is justice and hope in my heart, I will never lose my way. News of Martin and Molly's arrest quickly spread throughout the city. The media coverage was overwhelming, revealing all the details of this shocking case. People were abuzz, shocked and scandalized by the dirty secret behind this seemingly ordinary duo. During the police interrogation, more details were revealed. It turned out that Molly was not as innocent as I thought. Although she was not directly involved in Martin's criminal activities, she knew a lot of Martin's secrets, including his real identity and criminal record. At many critical moments, she provided Martin with different degrees of help, including financial support, intelligence, and even alibis. More chillingly, the police also found that Molly herself was suspected of a number of economic crimes. While working as a yoga instructor, she also utilized her position to conduct illegal fundraising and fraudulent activities. Many students and clients became her victims and suffered heavy losses. I was shocked and angered by all this. I couldn't believe that my beloved wife could be such a complete liar. She not only betrayed our marriage, but also betrayed all the people who trusted her and relied on her. I felt like a big joke, a total loser. After Molly was formally charged, I applied for visitation. I wanted to see her in person, to question her, to vent my anger and sadness. When I saw Molly behind the bars, I hardly recognized her. Her once radiant face was now covered with melancholy and disheveled. She seemed a little surprised to see me, but soon regained her composure. "Thomas, you're here," she said flatly. "I knew you'd come to see me." I looked at her coldly, with mixed feelings. "Molly, do you realize what a mistake you've made? You've not only ruined our marriage, you've ruined the lives of so many innocent people. You make me feel strange and sick. I really don't understand how you could do something like that." Molly let out a bitter laugh, a flash of self-deprecation and remorse in her eyes. "Thomas, I know I have made an irreparable mistake. I failed your love. I failed everyone's trust. But I don't want to justify myself. I am to blame for all of this. I am willing to take all the blame and accept the punishment of the law." I sighed deeply. "Molly, you know, I loved and trusted you so much. I thought we'd spend our lives together, building a beautiful future together. But now it's all gone to hell. You have destroyed our marriage, destroyed all my visions of love and marriage. From now on, we are strangers. I will file for divorce as soon as possible and end our relationship completely." Molly nodded, no expression on her face. "I understand, Thomas. I understand, Thomas, that this is the punishment I deserve. I don't resent you for it. On the contrary, I'm grateful for the love and trust you gave me. I ruined it all with my own hands. I just hope that you can get over it and start a new life soon. You deserve a better life and someone who truly loves and understands you." I was silent. Once, I thought Molly was the one who really loved and understood me. But now, I realized that the love between us was built on lies and deception from the very beginning. It was not destined to last, and was destined to end in such a tragic way. "Goodbye, Molly," I concluded. "I hope you'll reflect on your time in prison and truly repent, and may you find your salvation for the rest of your life." After saying that, I turned around and left without looking back at her again. I know, From this moment on, we have become two strangers. Everything in the past had already gone with the wind and could not be undone. In the following days, I put all my energy into my work. I knew that only by moving forward could I get rid of the past and start a new life. My efforts were soon rewarded. I was promoted again and eventually became a senior manager of the company. At the same time, I made an important decision. I decided to leave this sad place and move to New York. There, no one would know about my past, and no one would look at me differently. I can truly start over and pursue my long-desired freedom and dreams. On the eve of my departure, I visited Molly for the last time, and through the glass partition, I could see that she had lost a lot of weight, and there was a hint of sadness and confusion in her eyes. But when she saw me, she still forced a smile on her face and tried to look strong. "I hear you're going to New York," she said. "It's a great opportunity, and I'm really happy for you. I hope that there, you'll find new success and new love." I nodded. "Thank you, Molly. This is a new beginning for both of us. I hope you'll do well in prison and make a new life for yourself. And when you're released, you can start a new life." "I hope so." Molly smiled bitterly. "I may never be able to make up for the mistakes I've made, but I'll spend the rest of my life atoning for my sins. But I will spend the rest of my life atoning for my sins. Thomas, goodbye. I wish you the best of luck and happiness." And with that, I said goodbye to Molly. The moment I walked out of the prison gate, I took a deep breath. I knew that from now on, I would really say goodbye to the past and welcome a brand new life. The past is gone. There is no going back. The important thing is to look forward and try to create a better tomorrow. New York, the city of dreams, has given me a new life, a new beginning. Here, I have rediscovered my position and value. My career is flourishing. My life is full and meaningful. Gradually, the pain of the past seems to have been washed away by time and become a distant memory. However, just when I thought everything had settled down, an unexpected visit shattered the peace of my life. The other day, I was in my office at work, doing some paperwork. Suddenly, my secretary knocked on the door and told me that Molly was visiting. The name, once so familiar, now shocked and disturbed me. I knew that Molly had recently been released from prison after serving many years. Over the years, I'd avoided hearing from her, trying to put the past behind me. I thought that everything between us had come to an end. But now, her appearance undoubtedly will be hard to establish my peaceful life, once again broken. My heart into a deep struggle. On the one hand, I do not want to face the pain of the past. But on the other hand, after all, we once loved each other, this kind of love, so I cannot avoid it. In the end, I decided to meet her, and the moment Molly walked into the office, we looked at each other with 1,000 words in our eyes. The years have changed her face, but those bright eyes are still as mesmerizing as when we first met. Molly expressed her apologies and remorse to me. She said that she had been reflecting on herself in prison all these years and that she had been trying to reform herself. She hoped that she could get my forgiveness and that we could start over. She reached out and tried to hold my hand, as she had done countless times in the past. But this time, I gently withdrew my hand. I looked into her eyes and tried to calm the shock in my heart. I told her that I understood her remorse and thanked her for her apology. However, it was no longer possible between us. I confessed my feelings to her. I told her how deeply traumatized I was by her betrayal. The pain destroyed all my faith in love. It took me many years to find the meaning of life again in the darkness. And now, there is no place for her in my life. I told her that I forgave her for what she did back then, but between us, there was no going back. Too many things have been completely destroyed and can never be repaired. We can only say goodbye and go our separate ways. I saw disbelief and despair flash in Molly's eyes. But in the end, she quietly accepted the fact. She said she understood my decision and that she shouldn't ask for my forgiveness. She promised that from now on, she would not disturb my life and would leave forever so that I could have peace and freedom again. Seeing Molly's back gradually disappearing, my heart was filled with 1,000 feelings. Once, we thought we would grow old together and never part. But in the end, we still came to the end, toward two completely different directions. Life is like that. No one can predict the future. No one can control the pace of fate. What we can do is to do our best to pursue our dreams and create our own life in the long journey. As for love, as for the past, let it remain in the memory forever. Outside the window, the sun was setting, and the afterglow covered the whole city. I took a deep breath, and the gloom in my heart finally lifted. I knew that my life had just begun. From now on, I will do my best to meet every new tomorrow. Everything is in the past. In the future, there are infinite possibilities waiting for me to explore and discover. Life is always full of hope and surprise. I will embrace every challenge and opportunity in my life with a new attitude. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.